A group of healthcare providers, particularly MDs, with long-standing experience in practicing medicine and surgery, both in the United States and in Europe, who come together to offer support to customers and clients of different sizes to implement a preclinical and clinical strategy to bring products to the market, to support existing products on the market, to provide expertise to identify new indications, new uses for the products, to offer healthcare economics evaluations for the products, without which right now it's very difficult to get into hospitals, particularly in the United States, but in Europe as well. So we offer value analysis to show that a certain product introduction into medical care and patient care will provide some degree of relief in the overall costs encountered by the hospital, despite the fact that the products are expensive and sometimes you have to pay for them. One mistake that I found done by particularly small companies is to have an incomplete understanding of the market and how the market works. For example, what does it take to get into a hospital and be accepted, particularly if you're a small company with a less known name? What it takes to get an appropriate regulatory strategy to be cleared by FDA here in the US or the regulatory bodies abroad. How to present the technology to the stakeholders, which are basically the physicians and the nurses who are going to use them. And to also identify the correct indications for the use of the product. Sometimes companies focus on one particular niche or one particular indication, and sometimes don't realize that the product can be used, across the board in other areas of medicine, which obviously increase the opportunity and the potential for market uses. The team expertise is composed by healthcare providers, particularly physicians, who have practiced medicine in this country and in Europe for many years. For example, I have been a surgeon, an academic surgeon, for 30 years here in the United States, although my training was done partially in Europe, so I kind of have this dual knowledge of both markets. As far as examples of projects that we did, I can mention one that we are currently doing, which is for a large client in Japan, where we are trying to advise them on the appropriate use of a device dedicated to a particular area of diagnostic. So what we are identifying for them are existing markets where they can go immediately, but also, and more importantly, markets where they can get into the future with different indications. This is an example of a large project. A smaller project instead is more devoted to small companies. They usually cannot afford a medical director or a chief medical officer, where we can provide more hands-on, direct help in the development of the new products, the marketing of the new products, and really bringing the new products into hospital healthcare in the hands of the providers. Well, I think the two traditional divisions of consulting, which is the strategy and the mergers and acquisitions, can benefit from the medical affairs division because it is difficult to, in my opinion, to advise a company whether on investment or whether it's on a strategy without feeling the pulse of what the market carries, and what the market demands, such as, for example, health economics. What does it take to get into a hospital, to be accepted, to lower costs, and to have physicians embrace the idea to use, and not only physicians actually, but also hospital administrators. So the interaction with the two traditional arms of CMC is pretty obvious because we bring clinical knowledge. The interaction with the drug and discovery lab is more at the maintaining a continuum of developing from a concept at the laboratory levels. You eventually will have to move to animal testing, usually as a proof of concept, to clinical trials, usually pilot, small at the beginning, and maybe larger, more prospective and randomized later on. So we provide a logical continuum from going, what we usually say, from bench to bedside, so from the laboratory to patient care.